Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of This Expat Life. This episode is actually part of a 2-episode sequence to help you reflect on the past year or the past period and look forward to the coming year or coming period. So if you haven't already, I would advise you to go back 1 episode and get started with the 12 reflection questions I outlined for you. And when you're done with that, I will help you now to look forward to the upcoming year. So just a quick reminder, I will go through these questions pretty quickly, and I will ask you to just pause this episode after each question so that you can journal your answers. You don't need to rush through these questions, but I also can't do it live with you because some people need 2 minutes, whereas others need maybe half an hour to answer a question. So just pause the episode after each question and take your time to really find the answer that you're looking for. And also, I have created these questions in written form. So if you go to the link in the show notes and leave your email address in the form that is linked there, you will get sent these questions via email if you prefer written text instead of audio. So now we're getting started with looking ahead, and this is absolutely my favorite part of goal setting. I love living in the future, as I already shared in the last episode. I'm extremely future oriented, and I used to do it in a way that was very, the old-fashioned way of goal setting, I guess. I would decide what I would want to have in the new year or do or be or achieve, and I would come up with a plan that would help me get there. Whereas nowadays, I do it differently. I really go to the future me who has everything she already dreams of. And then from there, I see what I need to do. And this brings other answers. If you have trouble deciding what you want to have the next year, just close your eyes and allow any image to come up that you dream of when you think about the future. Now, this does not necessarily have to happen straight away in 2025, but it is a good direction for you to aim for. And besides this future self stuff, I'm also very consciously looking ahead, and I'm being very intentional about where I want to put my time, focus, attention, and money on. So every year after the reflection, I go to the part that is about the future, and I ask myself certain questions, some of which are also in the 12 questions for this episode, that will help me decide a little bit more what I want to prioritize, what I definitely need to include in my life, what I should be focusing on, habits I might need to work on a little bit more to get where I want to go. It is so easy to just let 2024 slide into 2025 or 1 month to the other or going from one country to another, that we just build upon what we've built in the past. But if you want a real change for your life, you want to dream bigger, that future self stuff, allow it to happen from there, and also be super intentional about what you want to change. So many of us have our lives built and locked in by 9-to-5 jobs, by, social structures, by expectations, about physical environments. And before we know it, the days turn into months and the months turn into years, and your life is just the same blur. And I have always been super intentional about where I want to be. And this has enabled me to go from a student in London to a corporate girl in London, and from a corporate girl in London to a diplomat in the Netherlands and Brazil. And then from being a diplomat to an entrepreneur, and who has also worked in different countries. These were identity shifts, pretty big ones. I think I had more identity shifts than the average person of my age. But because I was always so intentional about where I wanted to go, I had a vision I was working towards, and I had a plan to make it happen. I'm super conscious of my time. So every quarter I ask myself, where do I want to go to? What should I be focusing on if I want to meet my yearly goals or dreams that I have? And these reflection questions are the starter for that. So I hope they will bring you some clarity or renewed energy already. It's always the case for me. It really boosts my motivation. But I also hope you will have check-in moments later on in the year with yourself to see where you're at. Maybe you want to go back to the answers that you've written down. Because dreaming about it and writing about it is nice, but if you don't actually do something about it, not much will change. And as I said in the previous episode, The small shifts are often our biggest wins. If you can change something about your daily actions or your habits, you're going to have a bigger impact on your life. It's not always about the big, bold moves. So be mindful as you're entering the new year. Be conscious of what you're doing and be intentional with your time, energy, and attention. All right. So let's just dive into it. I will start the questions. You pause me whenever you need to, so you can really write and take your time. And then you can just continue whenever you're done. So let's start with the first question. Who do you want to be in 2025? If life was a blank canvas and you didn't bring the past with you in this backpack that you're carrying around, who would you be? Who do you want to be next year? And I'm asking this question because, as I said before, it's so important to dream bigger without the constraints from the present or the current framework you're in. So who do you want to be? And note, this is not about doing or achieving. This is just about being. So write down whatever comes to mind. Maybe it's just calm, confident, loved, or perhaps it's a little bit more concrete. Maybe your being is tied to a work title or a location. But who do you want to be? And let's start with your essence. Okay, pause me here if you need to. Question number 2. What do you want to experience and feel in the coming year? Again, this is not necessarily about achieving and having. This is about feeling and being in situations. And I love asking myself this question because it takes the pressure a little bit off from very concrete things that I have to achieve. This question is also focusing on the journey towards your goals. Maybe you want to achieve a really big goal. Let's say you want to complete an Ironman or you have this really big promotion you've got your eye on. But the road towards that could be very painful or stressful or just not enjoyable. And is that how you want to feel in 2025? Is that what you want to experience? So let's start first with the feeling and experiencing. What do you want to experience and feel in 2025? And again, pause me here. All right, now moving on to question number 3. What would you need to achieve, do, or have to make 2025 a great success, a year better than others? And allow yourself to dream in this one. Don't start with the current framework or what you have achieved in the past. Break free from that. Go to your future self and look back to this year. What does great success mean to you? Maybe for one person, it's heavily focused on the career or moving to a certain country. And for another person, it's just about finding a calm, long-term relationship or starting a family. So what is a great success to you? And what do you need to achieve, do, or have to have that great success in 2025? And go wild. There is no limitation here. Write down as much as you want. I'd say the more the better. These are not your goals for the coming year and you're setting yourself up for failure. No, this is just about you recognizing what would make 2025 a great success. You're not going to focus on everything. We will get to that in a moment. But that is just for you to train your brain into seeing those things, what is possible for you and what is a great success to you. Pause me here again. I'm moving on to question number 4. What is your word for this year? I love choosing one word or maybe 2 for each year. I've done that maybe for a decade now already. It gives me focus. It gives me a certain vibe for the coming year. It helps me decide if I need to choose A or B. And so this year, my word was next level. I wanted to go next level with so many things in my life. I think the year before it was breakthrough. Now, I really feel that the last 2 years matched up to these words. In other times, I've chosen other words, and you can come up with any word that you like. It doesn't have to be about growth, which is really reflected in these 2 words that I chose previously, but maybe your word is love. I had a coachee whose word was audacious, which I love, by the way. I've heard Zen before, or just travel. You can come up with anything. It can be descriptive, it can be a thing, it can be a word that reflects a certain energy. But what is your word? Funny thing for me is I never have to think long about this question. Usually in December, a word suddenly pops up for me. And my word for the coming year is going to be exponential. Because I'm so ready for exponential growth for all areas of my life. So what is your word? I would also love to hear. Please feel free to send me a DM with your word. And once you have that word, what do you actually do with it? Well, for me, it's just like maybe sometimes a mantra I go back to. If I don't know what to choose, for example, when I was thinking about organizing a live event last September, I wanted to do it, but I also felt a bit of fear around it. Who am I to host like a full day for a bunch of strangers when I actually also have other things to do in my business? And then I remembered my word, next level. And I thought, yes, the next level version of me is totally, confidently organizing live events. So it made it very easy for me to go ahead with this idea. And I'm sure for the coming year, whenever I feel a bit of fear or doubt coming up, I will remember my word, exponential, and I'll be like, yes, then this is what I'm going to do. Or this is what I'm going to leave behind because it's slowing down my growth. Now, if you have chosen a word like love or adventure or travel or roots, every time that you face a dilemma, an A-B dilemma, or you don't know what to do, go back to that word and ask yourself which of these two or more choices represents love the most, or travel, adventure, roots. You can use your word as this simple guidance for the coming year in your big and small decisions, or just in your energy and how you want to show up in your life. Maybe you want to write it down somewhere, make it a screensaver for your phone, or put it in big letters on your vision board so that you get to see it daily. But have it as your year mantra if you'd like. So pause me here, choose your word, and then come with me to the next question. Number 5. If you would remove fear from your life and you will be 10 times as confident and you knew that you couldn't fail, what would you do differently? What are some of the things that you would be doing and would not be doing, saying no to? If fear was completely removed from your life, what would you do differently? Now, this is such a great question. I got asked this question a couple of times at a live event because often we are so held back by fear, even when we're not fully aware of it. Fear holds us back. Fear of failing, fear of what people would think of us. It's shame also behind that. Fear of not being good enough, fear of not being able to meet expectations. Well, there are so many fears. So if we would remove fear completely from our life, what would we do then? What would then be possible with so much joy and confidence? Write down these things, what you would do differently if fear wasn't present for you anymore. And my suggestion is go actually do some of those things. As I said, I got asked this at a live event now twice in a row. And the host of this live event also challenged us to go do that thing during the duration of the live event. And I did twice in a row. And it felt so good because this idea had been on my mind for so long, but I was like kind of holding myself back. And then in that energy of like, but fear isn't present, I just did it. And it felt actually so easy to do it. So write down a list. Maybe you want to write down like 3 or 5 things that you would do differently if fear wasn't present. And choose one you're going to commit to in the coming week. You can do that, I think. Yeah. Okay, pause me here again. I'm moving on to the next question, which is question number 6. What are 2 to 3 main goals or areas of your life that you will be focusing on in the coming year? Because like I said, you can't have it all or do it all. Well, yeah, I guess you can have it all, but to focus on everything all at once is just impossible. You're setting yourself up for failure or burnout. Life gets so nice when you really know how to focus and prioritize, because that will help you to say no more often to the things that aren't fully aligned. And that saves a lot of headache and drama, let me tell you that. So maybe you want to go back to the first 3 questions, what you want to be, what you want to experience and feel, and what you want to achieve, do, or have, where you've created hopefully a list of different things, and choose 2 or 3 bigger goals that you want to focus on or areas of your life. By the way, quick intermezzo, the reason why I started with being and then feeling and then doing and achieving is because I really believe in setting up an authentic life from the inside out. So often we only look at what we should do or have, like external things or very concrete things we need to add to our lives that will then change how we're feeling or who we're being. But if you can reverse it, the change is much more lasting, much more sustainable, and much more fun, because you won't need to rely on willpower alone to get there, because you're embodying a different kind of energy. So go back to those 3 questions and choose the 2 or 3 bigger goals or areas of your life that you want to prioritize in 2025. So what I always do is that I have a list of goals, although I have to say the last couple of years, it has been mainly the same, just like a next level every time. And I go to my future self and I see what she's doing. And then I choose 3 bigger goals that are not goals that I necessarily need to reach. As long as I'm aiming for them, I'm already getting so far, because they're pretty big goals and they're more like a vision I'm working towards. They are concrete, but it's, I'm aiming for the stars more or less. And I might end up at the moon. So these are a bit bigger and they determine the direction that I'm going to. And usually they also reflect one area of my life. So yesterday I mentioned the Wheel of Expat Life, my free tool that you can download. And usually each goal reflects one area that I described in the Wheel of Expat Life. In the past, they were often related to work, my relationships, and my environment. And I think for this year, it's going to be pretty similar, but there's going to be a change too. And so when I have these 3 bigger goals clear, and I also know exactly what they look like, that will be like, I'm an entrepreneur with X amount of revenue, or I'm an entrepreneur that has worked from 3 different locations, just a random example, or I'm healthy and fit and running a marathon again, things like that. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, it helps me to prioritize in life. So under those goals, I also write a list of activities and things that I could do, or thoughts that I could adopt, or whatever. And so I have this whole list of things to focus on in my daily life. And so whenever I'm presented with a dilemma or an opportunity or just a decision I need to make, I go back to these 3 main goals and I know my answer because I know what I'm prioritizing this year. And if you find it difficult to identify a few main goals or to prioritize 2, 3 areas of your life, I really suggest you download the Wheel of Expat Life, because it gives you an overview of 8 different areas of your life and a bunch of questions that will help you assess where you are and where you want to go to. So if you find it hard to just come up with it, go do that exercise, and this will give you some clarity on what to focus on. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can download it there. So just to summarize question number 6, what are the 2 to 3 main goals or areas of your life that you will be focusing on? So the things that you will be prioritizing. And no more than 3, because it's gonna give a lot of headache. Okay, pause me here. Really take your time for this one. And I'm going on to question number 7, which is, what are the beliefs and thoughts that will help you achieve these goals or be that person that you wrote about in question number 1? Because often we look at what we can do or have to make this happen. Okay, I want to be a marathon runner, so I will need to run 4 times a week and I will need to increase my kilometers every time. That's really about doing. But what is equally important for the change to last, for that transformation to happen, for that goal to be reached, is to also change your beliefs and thoughts. We have a subconscious which governs us for more than 90%. So many of the things that we do and think and how our body works is governed by something subconscious. We don't actively think about it. And your daily habits are locked in that subconscious too. So if you want to reach a goal that is pretty different from where you are now, or it requires something extra of you, you want to go to that subconscious part and really make some changes there. Many of us have default thoughts or beliefs like, I'm not good enough, good things never happen to me, this is not fair, I can go on. And you really want to become more aware of these beliefs and thoughts so that you can change them. Now, this is a longer process. This change doesn't happen overnight. And if you want to get a bit more serious about that, I suggest you get into the co-pilot, my group program, because we will look at story work there, the stories you're telling yourself subconsciously, and also what different parts within you exist that are feeding those beliefs and thoughts. But it's a longer process. And the first step that you can take is to identify what the beliefs and thoughts are of the person who already has those goals. So if you want to run a marathon, but you keep thinking I'm not good enough, it's going to be hard to run the marathon. I'm sure you can do it because so many of you have so much willpower and it's just mind over matter. But if you already come from a place that you believe you're strong, you're capable, you're powerful, you will run differently and you will go out even in the rain because you believe you can do it. And there's no willpower or not so much needed to start doing the activities. And so whenever you become aware of maybe some more negative or disempowering thoughts that you are still thinking or believing, go back to the beliefs and thoughts that you write down for this question. That you can just be like, oh yeah, I thought about this before. I'm choosing to believe that I'm good enough. I'm choosing to believe I'm lovable. I'm choosing to believe I am powerful as fuck. Whatever you want. So take some time for this question. What are the beliefs and thoughts that will help you achieve the 2 or 3 goals or be the person that you wrote about in question number 1? And I'm going to continue to question number 8. So pause me here if you need to. My guess is that you will. Question number 8. What habits, practices, and activities will support you in making 2025 that great success? Now, in the last question, we really looked at the subconscious part and what happens inside of you. But I also firmly believe in having like concrete things in your life that will enable a change or that really support you in your journey. In the last episode, I already mentioned my daily future self visualization, my weekly CEO check-in. When I was training 4 times a week, I also felt really good. So I have and had some habits and practices and activities that really enabled that version of myself that was getting to those goals. And I'm sure you have that too. So if you dream about the things that would make 2025 a great success, how can you support yourself in it? Because obstacles and setbacks will come your way. So what are small tweaks that you can make that just support you a little bit more? Maybe it is going to the gym every morning. I was just speaking to a friend who does that like 6 mornings a week because he said, I have a really busy and demanding job. And if I go to the gym at 6 a.m., I just feel so strong and clear afterwards. And this really helps me to give the best I can in the day ahead in that job. Maybe for you, it's ending your workday with a yoga class once a week. Perhaps it's some future self-visualization, adding more joy to your life or to your days, maybe reading before you go to bed, journaling more, whatever. Anything is possible. So to summarize this question again, what habits, practices, and activities will support you in making 2025 a great success? I'm really curious what you come up with. And bonus points if you do the next step, and that is schedule in those activities into your calendar. Make commitments, put it in your calendar, ask someone to join you. Just make it concrete right away so that it's not just a thing on paper that you have thought about. Okay, pause me here. Question number 9. What are you saying no to this year? What are you no longer available for? If we want something new or different in our lives, we also need to make space for it. Now, in the last episode, we already looked at what you are leaving behind in 2024. This will enable more space in 2025, but maybe a bit more is needed because maybe what is really required for your next step, your next level, your growth, your change is you saying no to something or someone. Maybe you are a people pleaser and you always want to be helpful for other people. But as you prioritize other people's needs over your own, you find yourself with less time, less energy, less focus for the things that you really want to be doing. So perhaps what is needed here is a more firm no from your side, that you're not available to help everyone all the time on their terms. Maybe what you're saying no to is a certain way of communication with your partner, or a demanding, micromanaging boss, or physical laziness, as is the case for me. I'm definitely saying no to the lazy person I also have inside of me. I'm no longer available for the excuses that she puts up every time. If you are being intentional and you can already see it coming, what are you saying no to? What are you no longer available for? And this may not be easy, by the way. Okay, I'm moving on to the next question, so pause me here again. Question number 10, what external and internal resources can you use as you progress towards your goals? As I said, obstacles will come your way, and it's just that, it's an obstacle. We have our goal clear, or at least the path more or less. Obstacles will come the way, but then there's always stuff that you can rely on to overcome an obstacle. I actually do an exercise pretty regularly with my one-on-one coachees, and it's also in week number 4, I believe, from the co-pilot, because a lot of people don't see their obstacle for what it is. It's just an obstacle. And they definitely don't see they also have resources to rely on to overcome the obstacle. Let's say you really want to make a big change in your life, but fear and shame have been holding you back so far. And every time you want to make a move, your body is just like, no, I'm not. And you find yourself not making the change. So if you can really see fear and shame as obstacles and not as, I don't know, your reality or how it should be. And then you can also identify the resources that you can use to overcome these obstacles. It becomes much easier to continue your path. Now, I deliberately made a separation between external and internal resources that you can use. Often when I ask people, hey, what are some resources that you can rely on to overcome this obstacle? They come up with external things like the support of a loved one, money, time, a certain job, a certain location, a tool. However, while this is great, I also really want you to see the internal resources that you have available. Maybe it is your resilience that you built a couple of years ago as, a bunch of bad stuff happened to you. Maybe it's your flexibility because you lived in so many different countries. Or perhaps it's a quality of always seeing the positive things in life. You do not need to fully feel or embody this resource, this quality right now. But if you know it from your past, you can trust that it's still within you. So when my father and later on my mom died, obviously I was in a really low point in my life and it was really hard. But I remembered I had already overcome so much in my childhood and moving to so many different countries all the time that I really knew and felt I will overcome this too. It's not going to be nice. It's going to be painful, really painful. I'm not going to rush anything, but I just know that that quality is in here. So I don't need to worry about that. I know that I will overcome this. Of course I will, because I've always done that in the past. So as you are looking at your goals and just accepting the fact that there will be obstacles in your way, what are some external resources and what are some qualities you have within you that you can use in the coming year? Already identifying them will help you to remember them when maybe you aren't seeing things so clearly. Okay, pause me here again. I'm going to move on to question number 11, which is, what can you add to, delete from, or change about your environment? Now, in the last episode, I already said your environment impacts you so much more than you realize. And so if you want a certain change in your life or reach a next level or a goal, or you just want to be more intentional and not live on autopilot every single day, it really helps to see your environment as something that can either block you or help you. So if you want to feel more fit and healthy and maybe you want to run a marathon, It doesn't help if you live with a family with kids and there's so much candy around. It would help if you see your running shoes very clearly every time that you walk in the corridor. That will remind you, oh yeah, I'm a runner, I'm a marathon runner, I'm healthy, I'm fit, I'm going outside to exercise. Now, that is a pretty simple example, but I think we all know, right, how it was during the lockdowns where we had to work from home and everything became a blur, work and personal life, because we were all working from the same place, from our houses. So if you want to feel a different way or you want a different kind of energy, make sure to also add that to your environment. If you want to feel more ambitious or more in control or just more badass, maybe create a room, if that's possible in your house, or just a corner of a room that embodies that feeling. Now, I dream of the day that I live in a bigger house where I can have my own podcast studio and a separate office. Right now, I have a small room which serves as my office, but it's also the laundry room. So whenever I work there and there are clothes drying there, I don't get this like badass corporate girly kind of vibe. I'm like, oh yeah, it feels a bit like lockdown. So I make sure to clean up before I work there, or if there are clothes drying there, that I go work in a cafe because I want to separate the two a little bit. And so you can start thinking about your environment too. Maybe it's not just about things around you, but also the people in your environment. Maybe it's not about changing your whole environment altogether, but just about alternating a little bit between. I told you already before, I get very bored in The Hague if I stay here for too long. So I make sure I go to Amsterdam and I travel abroad to mix that up because I need that in my environment. So this question is, what can you add to, delete from, or change about your environment? Pause me here as I'm moving on to the final question of this episode. And that is, how will you hold yourself accountable for your goals? So it's so easy to write about these goals and what you're going to change or how you're going to support yourself and the things you will be thinking. But, life takes over at some point. There's work stress, there's maybe something going on in our families or with our friendships, or we don't sleep well. And before we know it, we're back in autopilot. I see this happening so often. This is also why so many of the coachees I work with sign up for another coaching package, my frequent flyer pass, where every month they have a coaching session with me, regardless of what's going on for them. Just so that they have that open space in their calendar and this accountability to zoom out and to reflect and to go a bit deeper instead of just focusing on the daily stuff all the time. So getting a coach is one way to hold yourself accountable, but maybe you want to lock in a weekly journal exercise, or you find an accountability partner and you decide to meet up every 2 weeks. I have a friend who wants to change jobs and it's been a bit hard. And so she's found a friend and every 2 weeks they're meeting together to write cover letters and things like that. And it's been giving her so much more fun energy than doing it by herself. Another way could be to tell your partner what you're planning to do. So you can ask him or her, hey, can you ask me about my progress every now and then, or see when I'm drifting, when I'm going into autopilot mode. Or maybe you want to set a strict deadline for yourself. If you want to change careers, maybe you can already resign from your job and give a 3 months notice, and that will definitely put pressure on you to find that new job. Signing up for a marathon or something else that has a clear date will also give you that pressure that you need to get going, and that will help you keep you accountable. That's at least how it works for me. So this question, how will you hold yourself accountable for your goals? Now, I hope you enjoyed these questions. I've actually got so many more, but I decided to only select 12. But hopefully this will already give you a clear, direction of where you're going to, that you also know what to prioritize and how you can support yourself as you're going to face obstacles. And if you want to go a bit deeper on all of this, I really suggest you come into the Co-Pilot, which is my 8-week group program. And in these 8 weeks, I will teach about tools that you can apply to your life so that you can experience more fulfillment, ease, and direction wherever you go. Because these are not quick fixes about your expat life. No, I'm looking at you as a person and what makes you tick, what makes you you. So, what is your standard interpretation of the world around you that you are not even aware of? I have an exercise for you to help you shine some light on that subconscious that I was talking about, so you can consciously change it. We're working with emotions like fear and shame, how that is driving us. We are looking at different parts within ourselves and who's like driving our bus, and the bus representing our life. We'll look at decision-making stuff where we will do a really cool visualization exercise with the goal, obstacle, and resource. We'll take a look at our relationships and how it's impacting us and the subconscious communication that is going on there. And my favorite part, your future self and how to bring the future to the here and now instead of stalling it every time. In the co-pilot, you will learn so much more about yourself, and knowing yourself also helps you to see what is the authentic you and what are the ways that you kind of just took on as you went through life, but that are no longer serving you. And the more you can show up and express the authentic you, the happier you will feel in your life. So in the co-pilot, we are looking at life from the inside out, helping you uncover the authentic you and making changes from there. And once you start doing that, this whole 2025 mapping and planning and dreaming becomes much easier and more sustainable because the change will last. And if you want to join, we are starting on January 22nd with a kickoff call where we will get to know each other. It's like a little welcoming service that you get when you get onto the plane and the flight attendant comes to greet you with either a glass of champagne or just a bottle of water, depending on the class that you're sitting in. But that is the first week we're going to do, so we can really also create a group experience. Because what I've learned in previous rounds of group programs is that everyone thinks they are going through something alone by themselves. And once they hear from other people what they are struggling with, there is a huge relief. And they realize, oh, this is normal what I feel. It's not just me. And so the group element is really important to me too. Whenever I've organized events and group programs, I've always heard, oh, this group was so nice. It's because I focus on a specific type of expat, the high-achieving expat who is conscious and self-aware about where they want to go. And so this attracts similar kind of people who are open, who are conscious about where they want to go to in life, and also conscious about what is still holding them back. So if you feel like you want to be part of this group, I really invite you to join the co-pilot. I will put the link in the show notes, and I would love to see you there. Okay, that's it for now. I really wish you a magical year ahead and all the best to you, however that great success may look to you. Bye.